Very good. Very good. All right. Um, I feel like you need no introduction, but I'll give you a little one anyway.
Appreciate that. Thank
All
you.
right, welcome everybody to our Saturday sermon, August edition. We are Fifth Element Free Church. I feel like pretty much everybody in here looks familiar and knows who we are and what we're all about. But one of the things we like to offer over here are our Saturday sermons, which um, hi, it's Melissa. Hi, Melissa. Um, which we are doing monthly at the time at this time, current time. We've in the past done them weekly, but right now monthly feels like more of our more of our pace. And this month we are very, very excited to welcome back Dr. Devin, Dr. Devin Brossard. He is not a minister of Fifth Element Free Church, but a minister of his very own church, Symmetry Chiropractic Mission Centers, which he founded earlier this year, right? Or was it last year? Time
I
is funny.
yeah, I don't
Yeah,
even
I'm
know.
like, I'm like, it doesn't feel like all that long ago. So, but
Yeah.
I could safely say within the past year, we over here at Fifth Element Free Church helped him set up his own church because he is doing very, very, very big things. Um, and we were blessed to have a sermon delivered by him, I believe back in February, I think was the last time that you were here, if memory serves. And you gave a kick-ass talk about lighting up the Walking Dead, which is still one of my all-time favorite sermons that we've had. So I am very, very excited to hear what you have to say this time. I have been immersed in all things vagus nerve for quite some time because
Okay. All right.
as you know, most people on that are like truly focused on their spiritual journey know emotional regulation is really the key to making any type of progress. And so you got to know about the vagus nerve, and you got to understand how that bad boy's how that bad boy's running the show for you if if you're not conscious of it. So really psyched to hear the wisdom that you have to impart to us. So I'm going to turn it on over to you. Go ahead, Dr. Devin.
Yeah, and thank you. And I appreciate you, Jess and Jordan, and everything you guys do because really what you're doing with Fifth Element is actually taking the church back to what it was originally. Because if you think about like now church, it's like go Sunday, you sit there for a boring service, you sing songs that the words don't actually mean anything, but they feel kind of good. And it's like, but really like back in like you look at all the original church starters, it's like they had these talks where people would come to be inspired and lit up. And so thank you for the feedback that was a good talk that I did. I'm going to try to hold myself to the same standard this time with the vagus nerve. And I'll share my screen now, and then just give me a thumbs up. Make sure it's. Oh, is it possible to share the screen? It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Sorry, give me a second.
Oh, you're good. So if I could, while you're doing that, let's just do a quick survey. When you heard the word Vegas, what comes to your guys' mind? Is it the town Vegas, Las Vegas, or is it the vagus nerve? Is it like Jess that kind of understands this main autonomic nervous system function? So I just know how deep to go in neurology wise. Okay, Melissa's got both. How about you, Tracy? Vegas. Okay, slot machines, first thought. Okay, okay, and
I'm
then the
gonna
nerve.
make
Okay.
you, sorry, I'm gonna, Devin, just not to interrupt you, but I'm gonna make you a co-host, and I think that
Mhm.
should allow you to share your screen.
Okay.
Do you see a prompt for that?
Oh, I can share it, so I think I'm good.
Does that work? Okay.
Okay, perfect. All right. Go presentation mode. Okay, I think we're good. All right, awesome. Thank you. Okay, and then we are. I'm gonna put my phone in front of me so I can keep track of the time because it's 8:08. So I want to start off the question: would you rather be smart or lucky? Go thumbs up for smart, thumbs down for lucky. Because you think about like Vegas, like right? It's like, well, how about both? And you think about Vegas, right? People love Vegas. I've never been to Vegas, but literally every single person I've talked to that has gone to Vegas, they're like, it's the best thing ever. There's like all these lights and this entertainment, and you get to drink all the time. It's like this awesome experience. It's so awesome. And then you get to gamble, in which I'm not morally against gambling. Actually, I feel positive about pretty much everything about it. I just not someone that gambles, because I understand the odds and I don't get any joy out of it. And maybe that's the thing. I was like, I don't enjoy giving someone money and then them taking it and then pretending like I have a chance to make it back. And so I've never been to Vegas, but really, in essence, what Vegas is, it is the opposite of what the vagus nerve needs in order to function. So we are going to jump into this conversation thinking about this simple fact of being smart versus being lucky, because people go to Vegas hoping to get lucky, and it's not very smart. And then some people just, you've noticed those people that, like, no matter what they do, they succeed at it. And they're like, isn't that person just freaking lucky? Like, how do they do these things and then just succeed? Because my friends, am very much the latter. I'm not that smart, but I have just gotten very, very lucky. And so, as Jess said, I started up my own church, and I am a missionary. I'm a chiropractic missionary. And by the end of this talk, you will also be a chiropractic missionary. And you can tell people this. You can just say, "Hey, I'm a missionary," and 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 no doubt they will give you like some kind of credit. Most people don't even follow up any questions with like what that means, right? They're like, "Oh, thank you for your service. Oh, mission work's so important." And but if they do follow it up with like another question, the question is typically like, "What kind of mission work do you do?" And mostly followers of Christ are from main churches in the United States. They go do mission work, just like Jesus did, just like Jesus was building houses and digging wells, right? Jesus never did those things. What Jesus did is he literally healed people with his hands, fed the poor, and then was inspiring and lit people up everywhere he went by telling him the kingdom of heaven is near. He didn't tell everybody, hey, convert to believe in him here, you go to hell. No, he didn't say that. He literally was a healing force himself and went around. So by the end of this talk, by understanding the vagus nerve and how it functions and optimizing it, you will be a missionary, because you will become more healing by applying the principles that we're going to discuss in this next 50 minutes. So let's do a real quick gut check here and ask the question, like, how happy are you? And on this video, this is my niece Sullivan. Is it playing? Can I get a thumbs up if it's playing? Presenter mode is kind of no, it's not playing. Let's see if I can get it to play here. There we go. Thank you for that. So this is my niece Sullivan, and she is running on the beaches of the Dominican Republic. And so, do you see like how much joy she has? And more importantly, look at the people around her when she interacts with them. They can't help but be happy. Like, she literally is the source of joy to them. And this is how kids are naturally when kids are healthy. They naturally are happy. They naturally run, they naturally play, and they naturally give joy to everyone else around them. And then at a certain point, we just kind of stop doing that, don't we? And the real sad thing is now, like with our current culture, at least in the United States, there's kids that don't even get to experience this stage of their life. They skip through this happy, joyful phase. And really the key with like understanding, like, okay, how happy are you? It's not to feel bad. It's not to have guilt or like, oh, life is hard, right? It's just to really like do like research and development of like analyzing, where are you? And some people are like, I'm happy just the way I am. Great. But are you Sullivan running on the beach happy? So, and then the second question is, if you are not Sullivan running on the beach happy, would you like to be? And if the answer is no, then yeah, none of this stuff is going to matter, because really it's someone has to want to move towards something in order to then have progress. And so happy is moving with ease, having energy with ease, and having connection with other people with ease. So in those three areas of life, those directly relate to the functioning of the vagus nerve. Because the vagus nerve is what leads us to a status of what is easily referred to as fear or false experience appearing real. So if you said, okay, if you looked at your own life and I asked, so at what point did you stop running and playing and being happy and laughing? And what happened? Most people have like this story, right? Well, oh, this thing happened, it was bad, or I'm just getting older. And all of that is simply a narrative that was created within the brain in order to create something that is driving fear. And so fear is one of those words. I remember during the pandemic, it's such a funny time, wasn't it? Interesting retrospective analysis is there were so many people that were like, I was never afraid. Yeah, I knew it was bullshit the whole time, right? And it's like I had these patients that, like, I remember this one guy who came in, he had a gas mask and gloves and and then like a month later, he was like, after it was like the kind of the politics kind of got involved, and a month later, he was like, yeah, I never believed in that. I never had any, never was afraid. I'm like, dude, you had a gas mask on my office. Like, you don't remember that? So people typically don't like the word fear. I wasn't afraid. But really, anytime something stops you from moving with ease, having abundant energy with ease, and then connecting with other people with ease, it's based in fear. It's based on a perceived danger. And on the screen here, there's two parts of the brain that are highlighted. There is the prefrontal cortex, which is the rest, digest, develop, and heal part of our brain. And then on the backside, there is the fight, flight, freeze amygdala. And the amygdala is what controls this fear response. It's the survival part of our brain. So, and again, to give you an idea of, we use the word rest, digest, develop, heal. And oftentimes people think of that as like this, just take a break, right? But make no mistake, healing is your body's ability to convert damage into strength. So, oh, that's an adorable hug. Gosh, feels good to be loved, doesn't it? So really, if your body is injured or not getting stronger, it is not balanced within that part of the brain. That part of the brain is not functioning. So the vagus nerve is basically the receiver of these signals. You're either going to strengthen the rest, digest, develop, heal part of our brain, or we're going to strengthen the fight, flight, freeze part of the brain based on what information is received by the vagus nerve. Vagus nerve controls all 80% of the sensory input. It's the very first input to the brain that filters all of our sensory information. And Dr. Bruce Lipton, PhD, says you cannot be in growth mode, heal mode, and protection mode at the same time. So it's the perception that determines our adaptation to being in the fight, flight, freeze mode versus a restoration mode. And in essence, this is what keeps us stuck. So the experience that I had, and for any of you that were on for my talk, I in Washington State, which is the most mandate intensive state, I made the wise decision to not watch the news during the pandemic, and so I was ignorantly oblivious, right? And that really served me well, and it served me well for most of my life. And so I was not aware of the storm that was brewing within politics and within fear and within the news. And as in Washington State, 2020 hit and mandates went up, and I was like, this is dumb. I'm just going to keep people healthy, and I'm not really going to participate in all these mandates. And then that approach garnered multiple investigations by multiple government entities, threats with fines, lots of people yelling at me, and a huge amount of increase in stress. And so it got to the point where, I mean, I was, gosh, I think at one point the fines were like, it was like $5,000 a $5,000 fine per interaction without a mask on. And we had like 180,000 interactions with patients. So I was like, oh man, and I was getting notices, on a weekly basis. And people, investigators, they come to my office taking pictures of us, and we were like one of those people who were like going to hide and do anything. We you know, I was committed to demonstrating that the power to be healthy is within the reach of everybody, and I was going to demonstrate it without shame. And but all of this took its toll on me. So my amygdala. So imagine that amygdala part of the brain, how strong that is at this point of constantly having these negative interactions. And it got to the point where my blood pressure was, I mean, like 170 over 140. I started to lose my vision. I was starting to go blind because the blood vessels in my eyeballs were rupturing. I had nearly constant panic attacks where I just lay on the ground and like try to like do like vagus nerve breathing, and I was getting adjusted like multiple times a day in order to reset that vagus nerve. And 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 then I started to notice something. And this is really where I was deeply affected, is that my status, I could no longer stop from affecting my wife and my kids. So this is my wife, Chelsea. We've been married 18 years in August this year. And then Penny, our daughter, and then Callan and Beckett, our two sons. And I started to notice that, you know, I still come home, I'd still play, but my status was starting to affect them. And so and that's when it really started to like just be heavy on me. And I to be honest, I was at a point where I was hopeless. I mean, I did not know how to stop this stress response within my own body. I I had demonstrated throughout the pandemic how to keep people healthy through the pandemic without masks or vaccines, and yet I was still being legally threatened on a regular basis. I just at a point where, have you been there before? Where you're like, it's like, what else can I do? There's literally, I don't, at this point, I'm a marathon runner. I drink alkaline water, take supplements, exercise, do yoga, and it's like I can't do more, and my body is dying, right? Measurably. So then mask mandates lifted, and so our family, we hadn't gone on vacation for multiple years, and so we get on the plane and we flew out to the Dominican Republic. And so before the pandemic, with this group of friends that we're all friends with, and that we're prominent business leaders, and we've served on multiple boards of nonprofit organizations. We built parks, splash pads, renovated community centers, and that's kind of just, that's what we do for fun, right? That's for me. I don't ever turn off. So it's, I like to make other people's lives better, and if I have a project to work on, I'm doing it. And so we had this dream to do that in an international location, because in Arlington, where we were, I mean, we were able to do so much. So we're like, imagine what we could do in a developing nation. And so we had this dream. Of course, during the pandemic, all that friend group kind of distracted. Did you guys experience that too? Where like friend groups just kind of like imploded. Like one of our friends like went into gambling addiction, alcoholism, cheated on his wife. They got divorced. Another friend ended up started abusing his wife and had a porn addiction, and that fell apart. And so our whole friend group fell apart. But Chelsea and I, we saw this dream for our life to be able to serve the world in a greater capacity. And so we pack up, we go on our vacation. It was the longest vacation I had ever taken to that point. I never took more than a week off ever in a year. And we're going to take 9 days. It was like a big stretch for me. And so we fly out to the Dominican Republic. And if I can see a couple screens, who's been to the Dominican Republic before? Oh, you have. Okay. So the traffic and like the chaos of the road, right? I'm just like felt in love. I'm like, this is like my brain. It seems like it shouldn't work, but it does. And the beauty and the sea, the ocean, and it's like a constant breeze. And it's like, oh, it's like Mexico, but like fired up. And so within 3 days, I'm like, this is the place where we're going to do it. And again, smart or lucky, not smart. Smart people do research more than just going somewhere one time. Uh, on the third day, we get in a car. We get a real estate agent, and we go to look at this piece of property. And what it was an abandoned 47-acre missionary training facility, and on top of this mountain. And imagine we're going down this driveway, and all of us, we were like 10 of us packed in this little it was like a Honda or something like that, some small car, full Dominican style. And so we're driving up this driveway, and just if you can, just like picture Jurassic Park music playing. That is this driveway, the jungle. Like imagine that, right? And that in the Dominican Republic, I didn't know this. This is actually where the Jurassic Park was inspired with the Ember Mines. And so we're going up this driveway, and we get to the top of the driveway, and I get out of the car, and in that moment, all I could hear was birds and the waterfall. And it was the first moment in years that I could take a breath. And the crazy thing is, I didn't even realize that moment that I was suffocating, right? And so I took this breath, and I'm like, this is it. This is the place where we are going to understand healing. And so we literally took every dollar that we had, and we said, hey, listen, this is worth more than what we have to offer. We are willing to give you all of our money, because I knew in that moment that if I could experience healing, I mean, it was like being in the presence of God. And just when you guys come out here, you will, if you can find the words to describe it, I'd appreciate it. Because when I try to describe it and everyone else just comes off as cliche phrases, and it is a moment of like perfect healing. And I was like, if I can experience this, I can study it, I can understand it, I can teach it, and we can replicate it. And so when we purchased the property, we told the owners, like, I'll make a promise with you, missionaries. I say, I promise you that we can, with this property, we can teach people that the power to heal that Jesus demonstrated in the Bible is just as real now as it was back then. And understanding, and so we bought it several months later, packed our whole entire family out, and then literally walked away from $1 million practice and went and lived in the jungles of the Dominican Republic. And then I got the opportunity to study with the leading experts in the world with prefrontal cortex activity of chiropractic care, and then also vagus nerve with the PhD, Dr. Gitrov out of the University of Israel. And this is what it comes down to. The phrase, if you guys all heard the phrase, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. What happens within your vagus nerve stays within your vagus nerve. So, and you can do a self-check right now, because it's either going to be healing, moving with ease, very similar to how kids run on the beach and play. They don't even hesitate to move. Or it's going to be stuck in a stress response. There's 3 places that the vagus nerve interacts that you can palpate and measure. Area number 1, right at the top of the neck. So if you can palpate right through there, and you can feel if it is tight on one side versus the other, that is where the vagus nerve is holding on to a stress response. In essence, a circuit breaker is blown into that stress mode. And second place down, and this is the reason for a lot of people have the headaches in the base of the neck, and or when they're tired, they just, like, their neck feels heavy. The second place is the upper back. Have you ever woke up and you felt like you have a knife kind of stuck in the upper back? And it's like, oh, I have a chiropractor say we have a rib out, right? It's common verbiage. So, and then what do we say? I must have just slept wrong, right? Which is kind of an interesting thing. It's like, our species it developed out in nature and for hundreds of thousands of years where we slept on the ground, right? How is it possible to sleep wrong? And the reason is actually it's when the vagus nerve is kicking on and doing additional healing or emphasized healing, that it is actually kicks up that spot. It's like a hot wire, and that's why it feels right there. And so if you feel that area of your body, and if it's contracted, stress stuck on, and then the last spot is the diaphragm. And this is what controls that gut response. So if you've ever, and women are a little bit more in tune to this than men are. You've ever been in an interaction or with a person and just like you have this like feeling of like, it just doesn't sit right with me. That's the vagus nerve sensory telling you this is a warning signal. And it's also the leading cause of inflammatory bowel issues, or if you've heard of leaky gut syndrome, that's the reason why, because the vagus nerve controls inflammation. And those are the 3 areas. So those quick self checks can determine if that vagus nerve is stuck in any one of those areas. And again, this is where a lot of the, Jess, if you've done a lot of research on vagus nerve, it's a lot of the breathing techniques. And the breathing techniques are meant to floss that vagus nerve within that diaphragm intersection point. So now let's introduce you to a new story, a new character in the story on the right. Have you ever heard someone blame like their genes, right? That's in our family, runs in our family. Oh, got this thing. And and they're all right, right? They're all right. And they have data to show that they're right. But I like to study the things that are like, oh, that doesn't fit the algorithm. So let's study my family. My mom died a few years ago. She was a byproduct of the medical system. Died as a legal drug addict. She was put on pain pills, muscle relaxers, another slew of highly addictive drugs, and then died of cancer relatively young. And my older brother Dana served in the military, PTSD, a legal drug addict, higher level pain pills. My younger brother Derek, illegal drug addict, meth. My youngest brother is Davis, who's here on the screen. So Davis, I most likely would have got diagnosed with ADHD and then medicated, but I was kind of before that group where they started advertising to teachers in school. Davis wasn't so fortunate. He was within that age group, so he was diagnosed with ADHD, put on drugs. Had a difficult time getting through high school, extra, super senior, and then ended up didn't really have any other options. Went to military, served for 8 years, went to multiple tours in Iraq, killed people, PTSD, gets out of the military, and then he is in this cycle of coping. He is drinking, he is eating, he is unemployed, and he ends up gaining 80 pounds over the course of 8 years. Lived at home with my dad and my stepmom. So Davis, my brother, he fit into the same kind of categories that all my brothers did of addiction, right? And so Davis, though, he's got time on his hands. And I knew, based on my, again, 1.5 hour interaction with this property was healing. And I knew if I could get my brother there, that he could heal. And so I talked to Davis and I said, hey, listen, the question I asked him, like, are you really happy? Because he's a military guy, so he's like, yeah, things, just getting chicks, I'm like, are you really actually happy with your life? And he's like, no. And then the second question was, are you ready for an adventure? He goes, yes. I said, get your passport then. He'd never seen the videos of the property. He'd never seen pictures. And he just did. He just went and got his passport, and we sent him out to the DR to live there for the month before we got out there. So now, understanding a couple things that I think help with frustration for a lot of people. So the question, why do they do that? Why do they continue making the same? Oh, stupid. What are they thinking, right? All relates back to the vagus nerve. And you guys know that song, it's my body, I can cry if I want to. Just think of that when you think about vagus nerve. So a prime example for a baby that is stuck in the vagus nerve in the upper cervical spine is a colicky baby. So during the birthing process, if the baby's head gets jammed, it kinks that vagus nerve. They can no longer perceive ease. So that colicky babies are pretty straightforward. They need to eat, sleep, and poop. That's it. Right? So if that's the metric. I'm a pediatric chiropractor, and I had one of the largest pediatric chiropractic clinics in Washington State. And managing kids' health is literally that simple with development for babies. Are they eating, sleeping, pooping? That's all they need to do. And so, what do colicky babies do though? They have a difficult time nursing. They're usually constipated, and they don't sleep. They just cry. It's because they don't get the sense of ease when they get the thing that they need. That vagus nerve controls that. I got the thing that I need, and then now I can feel ease about it. And so, which is also why when a chiropractor does a very specific gentle chiropractic adjustment, babies just immediately pass out and then poop because you restore that connection within the vagus nerve. So if you ever find yourself in a situation where you're like, God, I just do these things and I'm like never actually feel the afterwards, it's the vagus nerve. It's not allowing you to feel the ease that comes with getting the thing that you need. And then on the other side of things, Davis. So now here's Davis. Fast forward 57 pounds down later, after living in the Dominican Republic with us, is Davis before was acting like a baby, right? He was stuck in the same cycle. Didn't want to go to work. I don't want it. I don't want it, right? The gut response is, I don't want to. That's the shutdown vagus nerve. I don't want to. Why? There is no reason. It's because of the vagus nerve. Because their immediate response is that fight or flight response to go against whatever is their normal. Okay, does that make sense, everybody? Okay. So now, creating symmetry within the vagus nerve creates a new reality within the brain. So now this is the problem that a lot of people struggle with, and myself included, is I believed that I had to see like a rapid personality shift within a person in order to then know that they really care, right? And one thing chiropractors get really pissy about is that when we don't get credit for things, those two things. But here's the thing. When you activate the vagus nerve, you also activate the orbitolateral prefrontal cortex. That is the part of the brain that controls our identity. So have you ever met anybody that owns their diagnosis? Yeah, I just got this thing, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome. So now, does that mean that we need to convince that person out of that? Good luck. I've literally tried. Good luck. And it's exhausting. But when you activate the vagus nerve, it changes the perception of reality and changes their reality. So, and this is where chiropractors get so pissy, right? Because they can have someone that literally gets carried in, they can't put weight on their legs, their back is so bad. And then 6 months, a year later, they're like, that was never that bad. And the chiropractors, yes, you were. Yes, you were that bad. We try to convince them that they were bad, but in reality, they were never that bad. And that's a better narrative. That's a better reality, right? So wouldn't it be great if we could change a narrative without having to talk someone through it for our kids, like for ourselves? So this is what we do. I ended up getting on a phone call with the leading expert in the world in vagus nerve function, Dr. CHI-RHO. I was supposed to just be a fly on the wall, but no one else could get into the Zoom call. So I got the leading world's expert, PhD in neuroimmunology, for 25 minutes. Thick Israel accent, and I can say with pride, I got told to shut the fuck up, and because he's like he's no one else can get on the call, so he's like, well, how did you get interested in the vagus nerve? I was like, well, during the pandemic, I needed more tools in order to help my patients. And I found this study that showed that HRV was which measures vagus nerve function, which is the best gold standard if someone was going to get COVID, die from COVID, have chronic COVID, or be hospitalized. So I realized that I needed to measure everyone's HRV. And it was like a huge study that was on meta-analysis, thousands of hospitals, hundreds of thousands of visits. And he goes, you're welcome. That was my study. And so this guy, I was ranting about all the things that the pandemic did that actually revved up the stress response, decreasing our body's ability to be healthy, increasing the risk of disease and death of all types. And I'm ranting about that. And this is where you need to shut the fuck up came. And think of like a thick, old Israel accent. And he said, don't you realize you're not honoring what we know, which is that activating the rest, digest, develop, heal part of the vagus nerve is faster than the fight or flight part of the nerve. So again, go back to Bruce Lipton quote. You can only be in fight mode or growth mode. You can't be in both. And stimulating growth mode is faster than fight mode. So by simply focusing on the things you don't want, it actually inhibits the vagus nerve. So, and that's why another thing, if you notice, I haven't even put in the things that are bad for the vagus nerve, because there's no point in talking about it. Because by doing the good things, you immediately convert the stress response into strength. And what would that world look like if there would be no ability for anyone to hurt you, because you'd be immediately able to convert any harm to strength? That is turning up the vagus nerve. So amplified experience, put them all together. And I could not have studied myself to this conclusion. I had to literally go and live in the jungle in order to understand it and experience it. So here we are. This is a little bit goosebumpy for me, so I'm going to try to keep it composed. I understood the Garden of Eden as soon as I was in as soon as I was in our property in the Dominican Republic. The Garden of Eden in the book of Genesis, people want to nitpick it and like, was it actually one person, one girl? Did they actually take the rib? Actually, and I was like, well, first of all, like when Jesus came, he like told parables, so it's difficult for me to get to like the whole like actual thing. So I'm going to expand and extrapolate a little bit, because again, my goal here was to convert each one of you to be missionaries, so you can understand and then therefore believe the power that's within you. So in the Garden of Eden, that is when we were in perfect commune with God, perfect health. So the reason is our nervous system was hardwired for survival based on nature. Anything outside of nature then is the opposite. So this simple, if you're taking notes, these are the simple things that you can implement right now in order to stimulate the vagus nerve. Connecting with nature, any nature. The plants around you, the ground, doesn't matter. Any amount of nature in your environment stimulates the vagus nerve. Second part, connecting with danger. Okay, so Jess, I don't know if I told you this before you put your deposit down to come out. We have tarantulas in the Dominican Republic. And I've now personally interacted with hundreds of them. And I would say, hands down, that is the greatest fear that most people have. And so, is the tarantula encounter experience often now? No, it's not often anymore. But when we first, again, remember when we got the property, it was like raw, no screens. I mean, the outside was inside, and they were everywhere. We've got them pretty much under control. So the odds of seeing a tarantula is minimal. But I want to illustrate this point, because again, that fight or flight part of the vagus nerve is, oh my gosh, keeping us safe. So when you can interact with something you perceive as dangerous, and then it's safe, it reinforces the vagus nerve that everything's okay. And it does it in such a significant way, because perception, again, is what defines reality. So connecting with something that is dangerous. And this, I'm going to let you kind of, I'm not going to make any suggestions by any means. This is each known, something that you're afraid of, go interact with it. If the vagus nerve will stimulate the ease response. Okay, third one, as I put connect, and this is connecting with other people. There is three ways to neutralize the stress response. Thing number one is movement, exercise. Thing number two is actually crying. Crying immediately downregulates stress response, reduces cortisol levels within the blood, and which is interesting because women cry more easily than men typically, and men often say, oh, that's because women are more emotional. No, it's because women actually are better healers. You're better healers than men are. It's difficult for men to cry because we aren't as important to the species. I mean, I hate to say that, but that's the neurology behind it. And the second part is connect with laughing, because laughing is a mutual interaction with multiple people, and it demonstrates the vagus nerve that it is safe. And then we have connecting with water. And I don't think it's a coincidence that they baptized in water throughout the Bible, because it causes, and I put water here because this is something that you can take home and do, is that really the vagus nerve is meant to regulate up and down with temperature. So going from one temperature to another temperature rapidly stimulates the vagus nerve. So that's why, if you guys seen like the saunas are very popular now, infrared, it's having an extreme temperature. And then also the cold plunges. But really, it's any very quick variation of temperature stimulates the vagus nerve. And in the Oasis, I mean, our property is, you're in the jungle. Everything is, there's wildlife everywhere, so it's a lot of perceived danger. It's so incredible, the groups that we've had come out there. It's like you have strangers come out, and then you wouldn't know it by the first day because they're all laughing and connecting with each other, because it's kind of this amplified experience, right? You start stacking these things up with the vagus nerve, and all of a sudden they become easier to do, and then program it. And then this picture on the right is our double-decker pool. We have a pool with a waterfall down in another pool. So all those things, this is what we have at our property that's immersive, but these are all things that you guys can do right now. And on a regular basis, it takes minutes to start to activate the vagus nerve. And then the conversation of like smarter versus lucky. Really, I've struggled with understanding this until this last couple of years. Is that I couldn't understand where so many people would be like, I don't believe in chiropractors. I'm like, I mean, what is there to believe? I mean, we have like the best health stats, and we 80% less pharmaceuticals, less hospitalizations. Like, why is it people don't believe in chiropractors? And then I looked at the data too, and the data showed that people that go to chiropractors, they I mean, like, significant reduction in all health issues, immune function. And then I look at like medical doctors, PTs, and they do spinal manipulation therapy, and there's no benefit. I mean, it's like, it doesn't do anything. And so then I stumbled across this sign. If you look on the screen here in the middle, what this is that it's a P and an X. And so what it is it's called the CHI-RHO. It's the original symbol for Christ. We found this tile in our property in the Dominican Republic. It was plastered into one of the walls. And I couldn't help but wonder, like, is it that chiropractic care is just magic, or is it magic because we're literally healing in the original symbol of Christ? And then, like, Christ came and he said, through me, all things are made new. And what we now understand through countless EEG studies is that when someone receives a chiropractic adjustment, not spinal manipulation therapy, that their brain creates neuroplasticity, meaning rapid changes can occur, that new normal occurs. I don't know. I think there's still more research to be done. So at our and again, I kind of a research scientist guy. So all this stuff creates vagus nerve symmetry measurably, because when the vagus nerve is stuck in the fight or flight response, guess what muscles are activated? Traps, neck, mid back, and you can feel them within yourself. Your body's stuck in that posture. And by working the opposite side, literally neurologically creates balance immediately. And then through time and repetition becomes the new normal. And that's what this EEG shows, just shows motor patterns changing. So then this is the simple process that we take people through in the DR. They get reset. It is vagus nerve reconnection, inundation, unavoidable. which I I I love taking care of. I love having groups of women come out because women are better healers than men are. And I have had men come out and I have helped them also. It is unbearable helping men through the healing process. Right. And even if, because here's what ends up happening, there's this fight, right, that goes on. There's this fight of like the amygdala wanting to be in control, wanting to keep us safe, safe, watch out for the danger. And then we have the healing part of the brain. It's like, I got this. Don't worry about it. And so as changes occur, we have to process through our emotions. And so men go into hyper, like wanting to control mode things. And what they need is something physically manual physical work to do. So they got to run or work on something, or else what they do is they what's the term? They mansplain. Is that the thing? Yeah. They want to tell other people how they need to be doing things. It's unbearable. And I I even have, and so if you have a significant other as a male, and this is more of a heads up, or the guys that are on here, is as you're going through this process of reconnecting the vagus nerve, you've got to process through that. And so if you have lots of projects that'll work through it, but otherwise it just becomes like constant problem identifying of like, what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? And even I have men come out there and I tell them, like, listen, you're going to go through this process. You're going to want to tell me how I should be doing things and projects that need to be worked on, or have ideas. Like, I don't want to hear about them. I don't need to hear about them. And even like telling them, they still do it. And so guys, just be aware of that. When the mind starts to get really critical, that's good. It's good changes that are occurring. And then that leads to the third status, which is reclamation. And that's really what vagus nerve symmetry is about. It's taking something that has been your body, that has been used, it's been abused, it's been broken, and then it's reclaiming it for a different purpose, a better purpose. And again, going back to that original conversation of what if everything that hurt you immediately made you stronger? So here's my brother Davis at the end of his trip before I sent him back to Washington State. He had 3 goals when he came out. His goal was to lose weight, detox from food and alcohol addiction. And then his third goal was to be able to move out of my dad's house, get his own car, and get a job and get an apartment. Pretty lofty goals. And so he came out. I adjusted him multiple times a day. He fed him Dominican food. Did not do anything strenuous. His weight loss wasn't because we boot camped him. It's just actually fat is simply inflammation because your vagus nerve is holding on to the cortisol. It's a gut. It's that diaphragm vagus nerve. That's where it's stuck. That's why guys got guts, because the vagus nerve is stuck there. So his third goal, he lost 57 pounds. He detoxed. I remember one day playing in the pool with our kids, and he's like, "This is what being happy feels like. I forgot this." And then his goal of like having money to get a car, get an apartment, I'm not gonna be able to help you with that, man. Like you can't work in the DR, and so it's like you got to go home. And this is the God part of this, because I cannot actually explain this part. So when he was leaving, he calls my dad, says, "Hey, I'm gonna come back. I want to get a job, and I want to get a car." And my dad and his wife Kathy, they're literally on the way to the car dealership, and they're like, "We're actually going to trade in our car right now for pennies. Like, if you get a job, you want to just buy it for the blue book value, which would be more than what the dealership is going to give us." It was like this perfect timing. And he's like, "Yes." He then, before he left, had a job interview with Amazon here in Washington State. When the week he got back, he interviewed unemployed again for 8 years. I did not coach him. I wasn't like, now what are we going to go do now with this new start? None of this. With the week he got back, he got a $3,000 signing bonus with Amazon. Within 3 months, had paid off his car, Within 6 months, had his own apartment, and now over a year later is living independently still, gainfully employed, and then moved himself through the ranks of Amazon to be training the lower level people. Unreal. And at the point where I like sent him home again, remember that whole like men as a healing was driving me crazy. That's where he's at. I'm like, I don't have hope for you, man. You need to be gone, though. Like, I can't help you with your goal, and you're driving me crazy. Like, so his personality didn't change. Who he is did not change. And I don't know if you have brothers or sisters that drive you nuts like that. Yeah, it's not gonna get better. But his ability to then create a life that is not stuck is undeniable. So then on the screen here, the question is, what would you be willing to exchange? Because on one side of the algorithm, we have synthetic, we have inactivity, we have negativity. And the other side of the algorithm is you have natural, active, and positive. So what would you be willing to exchange? Because really, it is that simple. Our environment right now is training our vagus nerve. But if you decide to implement the things that we're talking about today and write down where you are now, just wait, just watch. It's undeniable. And the thing that is in my opinion, the most important job that I have is to raise happy, drug-free, joy-filled, servant-minded children, is that by simply doing this for yourself, watch your kids change. Because they will replicate and mimic you and your neurological status. It's built into their survival. So I'm right at 8:55. I know this is kind of like also we are having your group come out next February. And so if anyone's interested in coming, I have like a little video about our property. If it's to be okay to play that.
Yeah.
People, what the whole Symmetry Oasis experience is like. So I'll just go ahead and switch that on. And I think I'll be right at time because I know we got to get right out at 12. So I'll just play this and then let me know if it's the sound is coming through okay.
I don't hear anything.
Okay. I don't know how to change that. Okay, well, so they'll be talking in the background, but just watch the videos. So this is the yoga loft. And then what we do is we immerse people in nature. We do beach runs / walks, and then we adjust them while they're there. And then we go into these villages where they're cooking over open stoves or open fires. And again, we get adjusted. So basically, we leverage everything that could be with the vagus nerve. And then with adjusting them, it creates the neuroplasticity within their brain that then allows it to become the new normal throughout the whole thing. So these are all very nice women that came out. None of them knew each other. And the crazy, and I didn't anticipate this. And this is where my prayer is that we can get a good amount of people from your group, because your group is really a pioneer in something that's very special and very big. And all these people came out as strangers, and it's been almost a year since this group came out, and they're all like best friends now, which again, it was just such an interesting thing. And so this woman at the very end, her statement was like, she found herself in just always in survival mode, and that she knew that she couldn't be the best version for her kids, and she couldn't be the best version for herself, for her family, and she couldn't be the best version of herself for her work. And so, and leaving afterwards, it's like a funny thing, because people say, I just know what to do now. Like, I didn't think about it. I just know what to do. Okay, so thank you all for joining me. If you have any questions, by all means, send me an email at drdevin@drugfreehappykids.org. I'd be happy to provide any other information or answer any questions you have. Thank you again, Jess, for having me. Jordan, it was good to see you again. Moshe, is it Moshe or Mosh?
Hey, it's Moshe. I just wanted to say thank you. Wonderful
for joining me. Julie, Jennifer, thank you. Appreciate you listening.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so sorry because we usually like to keep these going for as long as necessary so that we can have a Q&A, but I actually have a reading that was booked over a month ago that starts in 2 minutes, which is why I need the Zoom, the Zoom to be clear.
All good.
But just quickly, I want to say to everybody and to Dr. Devin, a huge thank you. It is always such a pleasure to have you here. You're a fountain of knowledge, and we really, really appreciate your willingness to share it with us. And as Dr. Devin mentioned, and we've sent a couple of emails out to our community, but we are, we are doing a retreat down at Dr. Devin's place in the Dominican Republic. It is the February vacation week here in Massachusetts. I don't know if that, if that tracks for you guys, but it's February. We haven't nailed down the exact dates yet, but it's the week of February 15th through February 21st. So if anybody is interested in coming, we have all the details and we will be happy to send them out to you guys. We would love to get a good crew together. We've got about half a dozen of us, I think, so far, with kids too. Like we're
Yeah.
all bringing our kiddos. So it's gonna be a party. And I'm so
It's gonna
excited.
be a
It's
party,
also,
especially your guys' birthdays too.
yes, I was just gonna say it's also me and Jordan share a birthday. I don't know if you guys know that, but it's February 18th. So we have decided that we're gonna throw the biggest jungle birthday party for ourselves in the coming year. So if anybody is interested, please let us know. I will get a copy of this video up on the YouTube. So if anybody wants to come back and revisit it, and if anybody wants to be put in touch with Dr. Devin, just shoot us an email, or you can email him directly or shoot us an email, and we are happy to make all the connections with everybody on the group. All right. And
All
go
right, missionaries,
forth
go out
and
and change the
enjoy
world.
your Saturday, everybody. I hope you all have a great weekend.
You too.
All right.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.